What is up, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I am, as always, your grateful host, Williamson. Great to be back with you. Today, we're talking, as always on this show, about love. But the love that surrounds us is the love that we accept. Is that the love we want? It's up to your situation. So maybe we need to set a new definition of love. What is it? What does it feel like to us? How do we experience it in daily life? How do we have others experience it when it comes from us? Let's get into it. I realized over the last couple days that my definition of love is skewed. And when I've used the word love and when I've allowed other people to use it towards me, that often is a transactional thing. Well, I love you if. I love you when. I love you if you do X, Y, and Z, and I love you when you don't do A, B, and C. And from a young age, because of mainly my relationship with my father, I think, I got pretty used to people saying I love you and then being gone without explanation for long periods of time. And I became okay with that because I think as a kid, you just assume that whatever your parents are doing, that it's right and that it's for a good reason and that they're probably out doing something for you. I think naturally as a kid, you just kind of assume that, right? Well, and then you become an adult and those relationships don't really improve. And you still, inside of those things, you don't have a great relationship. And then one day you just decide, like as an adult, like I did, where it's just like, we don't need to talk anymore. There's no benefit to us having a relationship. It doesn't make either one of us feel good. Does that mean you don't love that person? No, it's my dad. I'll always love my dad. But one of the other things I've had to learn through the situation with my mom and stuff is like, I have so many people that our definition of love is that I'm going to get a call either telling me you're on your deathbed or that you've already passed away. And I'll be one of the names that's expected to come and stand around and say goodbye because you know I love you. And I'm probably one of the only ones left. Does that mean that I'm going to actually be there? No. Why? I'm starting to redefine love. And if you didn't show me in your lifetime that you loved me, why would I come and show up when you're not even here anymore? I was right here while you were alive. And I've always been the one in my forms of love to come crawling back and apologize and say I did everything wrong and make the changes so that people will accept me again. And usually that lands me back in the dog and pony show of people pleasing, where the definition of love again becomes I love you when you do these things. I love you if you don't let these parts of yourself show. And I've had a lot of people in my life that go, Cam, I love you, but I can't be a part of your life for whatever the reason is. And trust me, they all think they have good reasons. And I've walked away going, well, then there must be something wrong with me. Because if you say that you have this same feeling of love that I have for you, but we can't be in each other's life, then there's obviously a flaw in me because I'm not worth it, right? But then you have to learn through time and through allowing yourself to sit with the pain sometimes to go, well, it's not me. It's your definition of love, and yours is off because I know what mine is. And when you love someone, you can't fathom the idea of waiting until your deathbed to talk to him. It kills you to not talk to him now. And like, if you can get through days where you're cool with not talking to people or not being in their lives. And I don't care if you use coping mechanisms or whatever to get through those days. If you are able to go through a day, a week, a month, a year, and make that other person see very clearly that you can go through your life without them, and you prefer to do that by doing it every single day, you have to immediately look at yourself and just say to yourself, you deserve better than that. I don't care what that person does. I don't care what they say. It doesn't matter how emotional they make it. It doesn't matter whatever. The truth of the matter is, like, when you love people, you go through hell and high water for them. And again, like I have a person in my life who's terminally ill. And I see what it is when they, when people love people and what they're willing to do for them, and, the strength that they can show by showing up even when everything seems like they shouldn't. And I'll tell you, it's easier to redefine love when you see someone who's doing it. And I just got to give a shout out to my mother, because even in her situation, like, she is actually, facing down mortality. And I'll tell you, she hasn't let that dampen her light at all. She hasn't allowed it to do anything other than show up for people more, because she realizes how precious time is, I think, now. But it also shows me in all the ways that I've not shown up, and I haven't been the proper version of love for people. And I've let my definition of love and the way other people's actions made me feel about the term love. And in that same way, I've started not following my own rules of it, which is like, you show up for people no matter what's going on, no matter how you feel, no matter what people are saying, no matter whatever, like, you show up. And I, as someone, especially as a father, I can tell you that there's so many reasons. There's a laundry list of reasons why of things you can make, a list you can make of reasons why you can't. Not that you don't want to, right? Because not wanting to, well, that's not a thing. No one will say, I'm not doing it because I don't want to. That's too easy. You'll say, I can't. I physically can't. I mentally can't. I logistically can't. Or you just do. And you just show up. You make it happen one way or the other. Why? Because you're, as a father especially, you're defining someone's version of love. And that will carry with them for the rest of their life. So if you don't show up, you have to live with the fact that you might put a little seed in their head that they weren't good enough to be shown up for that day, even if just for that day. And guys, I had a really tough situation this past weekend. I got to go spend some time with my oldest daughter. And, in the beginning, when I first got there, it didn't go well. She had a real bad, anxiety flare up, and she didn't want to speak to anyone. And she didn't speak to me for about the first hour that we were together. And there's a person who's around this situation via the courts that, after observing some things, she goes, she might be scared you're just going to leave. And she doesn't know when she's going to see you again. So after that, I told my daughter, I said, "Hey, Ray, I'm here. You see that this situation is weird, but I'm here. I just want to spend time with you, and I just want to be here for you, in whatever way you want me to be." But I had to realize, there were so many times, especially when I was living in Tennessee, and the drive to get to each other was 4.5 hours, and they would give me something like, "Oh, she's got a birthday party this weekend." My anxiety would be like, "Yeah, that's fine. She can go to the birthday party, because then we don't have to get all anxious and whatever on a 4.5 hour one-way drive." And it was like, "Yeah, okay, let her go." But I didn't realize like I was giving my anxiety the pass, not my daughter. And I was just not showing up for her. And on that day, she probably was like, cool, I get to go to a birthday party or whatever. But like the next day, she was probably like, man, I really wish I got that time with my dad. And he thought it was better that I go to a birthday party instead of us spend time together. And it's like, I used it more as a rational reason as to like, oh, well, this is okay. But I wasn't standing up for my own definition of love and being like, I love you. I love our relationship and I value it and I want to see it thrive. So like, I'm sorry, but I have to show up and I have to make you show up. It's not, the only can't that I can use here is I can't not show up anymore. And I'm sorry, you are going to miss some time with your friends and, you are going to have fear of missing out on some things that your family's going to get to do while you're with me. But like, man, I can't let this fail. My relationship with you as your father, I can't let that fail. And like my relationship to my mom as her son, I can't let that fail. So like I'm doing much better about being around and being present at like family functions and stuff like that. And trying to be loved there too, and not the brash, hardened person that my family's come to know me as. I'm trying to be there for like my nephew and my sister, and again, I'm trying to just be a better person. So that way, when I talk about all this love that I feel and all this love that I feel should be expressed in the world, when people actually do experience me, they're not like, well, for someone that talks about love so much, you are so angry. And sure, I am angry because my definition of love hasn't worked out the way that I wanted it to, but I can finally rest in the fact that like it wasn't because of me every single time. And sometimes I just gave the tag of love to the wrong people. And people that have more reasons why they can't and won't, well then you don't love me. So stop saying it. Because I'm telling you right now, like I've had enough of people trying to use the word love just to figure out what I'm up to. Use the word love and connection to have attention for a little bit. I'm tired of being led on by the word love, and I'm tired of sitting every night evaluating why I'm not worthy of it when I feel it so strongly all the time. And the same answer keeps coming back to my head. Stop giving it to the wrong people. Stop giving your attention and your energy and your mental and your, enjoyment and your peace. Stop giving that away to people who, guess what, aren't spending a single second worrying about you. And it doesn't matter what they say in the fleeting times that your ships may pass in the night. It doesn't matter. Let it go. See it for what it is. You could, but you won't. And I'll tell you what, I'll never be that for my kids. I'll never let my kids walk through a single day of their life being like, my dad could, but he didn't. Because they can best believe that if I didn't, it's because I legally couldn't. And I still stand on that to this day. Like, I have made some poor decisions that have cost me time with my kids, but I have always been willing to stand up and step up for them and fight for them. And I'll always do that. And that, I hope that when my deathbed time comes, that this channel is still alive and I haven't done some crazy shit like delete the whole thing or whatever. And my kids can honestly go back and watch and see their dad try and fill in the gaps of time maybe for them where maybe they didn't know what was going on. They didn't need to know what was going on in their dad's life right then. But when they're 20, when they're 25, or when they're my age and possibly something's happened to me or I'm not able to speak to them or whatever, it's like you can go back and still talk to me or hear me talk to you. And I've had to realize, like, there are some people that are just okay with that being the only relationship we have. Is they see me through a screen. It's a one-way conversation where they listen to me talk. And honestly, the people that watch it behind the screens and we have no relationships, it's because they know I'm going to talk about them. My father's one of those. They only watch to see what's going to be said about them. And that hurts. Because again, they know they can show up week after week. And they know that they're still in my heart. And I'd probably get 5 minutes until I start talking about something that bores them, and then they turn it off. Don't accept crazy definitions of love. Don't accept inconsistent love. Don't accept the word love as an approval to be treated terribly. Don't use the word love as a reason to be pulled in to emotional situations. And don't let the word love keep you trapped in something that's going to ruin your life. Love should never ruin your life. And no one that would ever truly love you would want to see you hurt for a single day. And if they know that they're causing you that hurt and they're cool with it, they definitely don't love you. And again, they can have their reasons. And I'm sure that they're good ones to them. But there's that old saying, memento mori, you will die. One day our lives will come to an end. And one day we will all get that news that it's over for us. And that wave of anxiety will hit so many people of all the things you should have done and all the people you should have fixed things with and all the conversations that could have just been too easy. Now, in retrospect, you realize. But guess what? You didn't. And the most fucked up thing you could do to a person is make them feel like they're nothing for an entire lifetime, and then in your last minute, call on them because you need love and support. I'll tell you, and I'll end with this. I worked in a nursing home for a little bit, a couple years back. And I saw a lot of people who realized that they put things like money, jobs, hobbies, pipe dreams that they knew were never going to come to fruition, cars, property, things like that, over people and connections. And they sat alone day after day after day after day, and in a nursing home that they could afford. No one came to see them. And guess what? These people were so miserable to the work staff that did come in and try to have a connection with them, because why? They sat around all day with the ghosts of people that they let down, that they told probably one day, or in their own heads, they said one day, if X, Y, and Z plays out, or if, this perfect situation happens, or, whatever. And here's the other thing. I'm sure everyone in their lives had tons of advice and reasons as to why they didn't do all those things too. Because guess what? No one will help you not do shit like the people around you. Why? They need you to be the version you are right now because it helps them. If you grow and you start living your own life and you start doing your own thing, well, then you're not even recognizable to the people that have no problem seeing you flop around on the deck like a fish. And guess what? They don't love you either. They love you via their definition of it, but it's never served you one bit. Happens all the time. I see people ruin relationships because the relationship that they have with their parents will tell them, well, you should be doing X, Y, and Z, and you shouldn't do this, Y, and Z. So they live by that because my parents love me, and they probably pay most of their fucking bills or something. So they just live this life that their parents think is acceptable, and in the back of their head, they go, well, maybe one day when my parents aren't around anymore, I'll live the life I want. And guess what? By that point, you got a terminal illness or some shit, and there ain't nothing you're about to do with your life. Nothing. And you're going to be sitting around wondering, why is life so tough on me? Guys, I hope that you have an incredible week. It's Father's Day this Sunday. I got a lot of fun stuff coming up. I know this one was a little heavy, but it needed to be heavy. I needed to get some of this off my soul, carrying it around a little too long. I love you guys very much, and I will see you in the next one.
Would you die for me?
Yes.
That's too easy. Would you live?